Hello, people in my Android. Welcome to the first ever episode of Buddies with Knowledge brought to you by me, Rita. So, today's topic is kind of a distasteful topic that we are going to talk about. Today, I'm educating you guys about the security unrest that has led countries across the world to call travel advisories to their national citizens. These countries include Canada, Australia, the United States of America, and the UK. All these countries have called for travel advisories, have issued travel advisories to their citizens not to come to Kenya due to various reasons. First, we're going to discuss the security unrest that we have as a country that those other countries view as, life-threatening situations. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the obvious ones. Let's get the obvious ones out of the way. So first we have the protests, the mass protests, or commonly known as the maandamano. For this protest started a while back, I think in 2024, because of the Gen Z movement against the finance bill that was put in place by the MPs and the current president of Kenya. So, guys, the first ever mandamano I think I ever witnessed as a grown person was the mandamano 2024 against the finance bill. And since then, 2024, 2025, and this year, 2026, there has been there has been no single year that has gone without the mandamano, aka the mass protests. So the pretty obvious reasons that we have unrest, security unrest in Kenya. Number one, it's the school unrest because of what happened at Utumishi Girls. Where several pupils decided to, light up, to torch the school, to torch one of the dormitories in the school premises on fire, leaving at least 16 girls, unalive. And that is so sad. And we pray for the family in this time, for the families that lost their lovely children in these times of despair. So the school unrest is one of the reasons, and I would like to address that a little bit to say that I think one of the reasons why students are deciding to touch their schools is because of the exam tensions, where I think there's pressure from their peers, from their parents, and from the teachers, to give outstanding performances. And this can lead to that. And I'm not defending the act of burning up schools. It is not a proper way to demand something that you wish to be taken from school. So the mock examinations, I think even when I was in school, were examinations that caused unrest, and were really, we were being told that how you perform in these mock examinations is how you're going to perform in the KCSE, the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education main examinations. And in Kenya, this determines your future in a way. How you perform in these examinations determines your future. So for the mock exams to be compared to your cases, it was kind of a big deal. We all had this pressure to get in books. And so that I think is the main reason that students are deciding to touch up their schools. The other reasons I think is congested dormitories. You have a very squeezed dorm that's like a hallway. Because I remember in my high school it was like that, and there is literally no space to even pass. You are squeezing yourselves for you to be able to move because of how many you are. So I think the Ministry of Education in Kenya, which I don't know the Minister of Education. I don't even know his name. I'm not even gonna lie to you all, because I I have I I I don't think he has done anything that can make me say, "Oh my God, that is the CS of, education." I don't think there's anything major he has done. I personally don't even know his name. I think he needs to up his game in terms of, what I'm talking about today, the examinations. We need to tell our teachers and our parents and also peers to like stop pressuring students. That's why again I think the CBC has come to like save some of the artsy, the sporty pupils who do not feel the need to sit in a chemistry class or do it as a compulsory subject if that is not, the route they choose to follow in the near future, in their futures, in their future endeavors. There's also, I think, another reason is the fact that there is bullying. Teachers bully students, especially in high school. So this is also something that I think TSC, who hires the teachers, and also the Ministry of Education should like, as when you hire a teacher, you need to look into look into their past, look if this someone is a great person to be around children, because some of these teachers, let me tell you, they abuse you, and then they are assigned for you to be their counseling teacher. Which in my school, where I went to high school, we had a counseling session, a counseling class as a lesson. But I don't, I could not name you how many times a teacher came and said, "This is what we are going to be doing right now." It was either that whole lesson was skipped, or a teacher from another subject, let's say mathematics, because they're notorious at taking other people's lessons. A teacher would come and teach their subject, and the guidance and counseling session would end without pupils or students being guided and counseled. So also, as I was saying, teachers bully students. I think it's not even a secret. The other day we saw George Mosiria talking to a head teacher who had beaten up a kid. On his back, he had, bruises from how he was beaten by the head teacher. Mind you, the head teacher is the same person who is supposed to be protecting these kids, and he was the one who did all these atrocities to the child. If you have not seen the video, kindly go check it out at his page, George Musiria. That's where I saw the kid. He was beaten to a pulp. Like, he had all these bruises on his back. So TSC or whoever hires the government teachers, kindly check into your teachers' background, because the names the students are being called, they are not okay. And a teacher may name call you. I also suggest that for the guidance and counseling sessions, we be provided with, may the students be provided with a teacher that actually guides and counsels, actually knows what they're talking about, is an actual therapist. That is what may they be provided with a person like that, because a teacher who teaches English, teaches history, teaches mathematics can come into your class, name call you, shame your body, and then you are telling a student that is your guidance and counseling teacher. A teacher who has just called you all the names of this earth because you simply failed a paper that you don't even know if it will ever guide you anywhere, because many people, like, my favorite subjects are history and English. I specifically, if I'm choosing a career path, I'm going to choose a career path that mostly, you know, has guided my path from my high school days. So history and English are most likely the paths that I'm likely to follow, even when I'm going to, like, do a future course like in college or the university. Meaning, a chemistry teacher might come into your class, call you all the names because of failing his paper, and it may never, and chemistry might never help you. I really hope you guys understand what I'm trying to tell you. Teachers should take accountability for their actions. There are evil teachers in high schools. Teachers are evil, not all, but most of them are, especially because they know, especially the ones in boarding schools, because they know that a child has nowhere to run to. I also heard on the radio today that some, also a major reason is because they are not being fed. I don't know why we will need boarding schools if you're not able to feed your children as a government. That also, raises a lot of questions about the Kenya Kwanza regime, then and the public, the boarding schools. I think that is a very amazing suggestion. You know, give students more time at home. I think like the schools in the United States are, they are free, and you are not, a teacher will not be there calling you names if they know that you're going to go home at the end of the day. They might have, some sort of fear of not beating you up carelessly, of not calling you names that you're not supposed to be called, punishments that run through ridiculous amounts of time, hours. Guys, the CS of education, you need to pull up your socks. Uh, School unrest, due to all of those reasons, is one of an insecurity. You, it's an it's something causing insecurity in Kenya. Geopolitical and public health protests. Public health protests is currently the maandamanos that are going on in Laikipia because of the Ebola facility the United States has said it will bring to Kenya, that is not going to be to be taking care of any Kenyan citizen, only American citizens. This is so sad for a good amount of reason, because there is no way you claim to love your citizens, the United States. There is no way you claim to love your citizens and then coming to, let me not say dump, because even as a country, even as me myself, I don't think my country deserves to be caring for any of their citizens. Unless they come here as a tourist, there should not be any reason that a sick person who is a tourist in another country, not even Kenya, gets sick and then is flown to Kenya simply because the president of their country fears for its citizens who are inside the country. What about us? We are also people. I think we are also people. Our needs are supposed to be catered for. If anything, this facility, the government of Kenya, that the people that have accepted it, which again is the Kenya Kwanza regime, should build it where they stay, not near any other places, that because many Kenyans are against it. All Kenyans that I know are against it, apart from the people who are who are benefiting from whatever it is that is happening with all that specific scenario. Citizens of Kenya, many of the citizens of Kenya will not be benefiting from that. If anything, there's going to be a lot of unrest, a lot of financial crisis, which we are already going through as a country. There's also going to be, a need. There's also going to be a significant drop of tourists in Kenya fearing for their health. So I don't get why we don't love ourselves as Kenyans. We need to love ourselves so much that that facility should not. I don't. We should not even be bothered by by what amount the US government has given to the Kenyan government, we should come out and speak up against that facility being built in Kenya. So yeah, that that is also the geopolitical and public health protest is also a safety unrest among Kenyans because the United States, which is causing all this havoc, has issued a traveling advisory to its citizens not to come to Kenya because of the ongoing mass protests in Laikipia. The protests are, you know, the protests are for the government to put an end to the building of the facility in Laikipia. The United States government has the nerve, has the audacity, has the audacity to put a, a travel advisory to its citizens not to come to Kenya because they feel it's a security breach for its people. I need to remind the US government that the protests are only there because of you and because you're selfish and because you do not, and if you love your citizens that much, you will take your citizens who have Ebola to come into your country because we all know the US government has better facilities to take care of such pandemics when it in regards to the public health staff. The US is more able than Kenya could ever be able to do that. And if you feel like that is not uh, that is not you don't feel like you need to bring your citizens to Kenya, to not to Kenya, to the United States. I think the W Health Organization says that if there is ever a pandemic or an epidemic of a disease, specific individuals who have got the disease should be quarantined in the place where the disease has like blown up. So in this case, it is Congo. So I don't understand why Kenya is being brought up in this conversation. Either take your citizens to your country or let them remain. Because we do not want to spread the disease. I do not want to get sick. I don't think anyone wants to get sick. That's the reason why Trump and his government have chosen to bring its sick people to Kenya. We're not supposed to agree to that. We're supposed to love ourselves the same way he thinks he loves his citizens. Uh, there's also another security unrest in Kenya is the high cost of living, which is under socio-economic pressures. Uh, I think we've all established that as soon as the fuel prices of a country, you know, blow up, everything else is bound to like every cost of everything is bound to go up. May it be food, may it be, gas prices, which again goes all is about the same level as the fuel prices hikes. That is also because again with the high cost of living as fuel prices hike, there has also been very major mass protests in Kenya against the high cost of living taxes. Mm, Another reason is that there is political manipulation as fears of political violence because the government is feared to be hiring goons to attack opposition rallies and vice versa. It's not the first time that in our country we've had, people, the leaders, the currently reigning leaders of the Kenya Kwanza regime and the opposition leaders going back and forth saying, "Oh, you always pay goons to come to our rallies and ruin them," and then the opposition always throws the what throws back the accusation that says it is you who hire the goons to come and attack us at our rallies. Goons, as you may know, are people who walk around with very big bamboo sticks, to beat people up. If you see that when you're outside as a country, you will feel like you will feel that um you'll feel that you're not that your citizens should not be anywhere near that country. But then again, no one is perfect, and your country is also not perfect for you to be bringing up, you know, traveling advisories. I said what I said. Oh, another main reason that I have seen that many people, as this has come up in all of the countries that have issued, the travel advisories to their citizens, is the cross-border threats of the simple fact that Kenya borders Somalia. Um, and South Sudan. Kenya is a border to, South Sudan. All these countries are part of East Africa, and many people fear that, we might be a target. We've been a target before of, the terrorist attacks. Who we don't know for sure who they are, what they want. Kenya has been a target before. So in that, cross-border threats, there's also kidnapping, terrorist attack. There's also what is there also? I think that's this terrorist attack. There is, kidnapping from, the terrorists, and that is why also, simply for the simple fact that we border Somalia, we are, white people, because I like to think it's white people. To be completely honest, white people are being told not to come to Kenya. Um, yeah, so those are some of the, I think, the main security unrest in Kenya, making these countries, which I have named the United States of America, Canada, UK, and Australia. Uh, Canada specifically issued travel advisories because of armed attacks and kidnapping, because of the simple fact that we border Somalia. There has been kidnapping before, but who's to say, like, we live in Kenya and we are safe. We may not know till when, but you can also be from wherever you are and not be safe, because it's not only Kenya that has been affected with, the terrorist attacks, you know. Um, Canada has also issued travel advisories due to urban crime in Kenya, because they fear that the slums in Kenya might have, violent crime and bandits. I think that is a global problem, because I would like to think that I have seen videos of people who are homeless in Canada, specifically Toronto. I don't know. I think the town is called Jane and something, or something in Jane. I don't remember the name. There is a lot of there are a lot of homeless people. So I think it's better to just build something for your people. I'm not even trying to sound like a hater, but the way these countries are, are so instantaneous in pointing fingers at Africa for not doing something correctly, while them themselves have the same problems that we are facing. There are homeless people in Africa, I think all over Africa, but it's not to say that it's only Africa, because I have seen them in Canada, in Los Angeles, especially also in Los Angeles, how they are homeless and drug addicts, and I don't blame them for being drug addicts, but Kenyans, not Kenyans, Africans are labeled as the most, uh, most poor, the poorest continent. But why do you see the speck in my eye and not the log in yours? Please notice the log in yours kindly. Australia has also issued one for because we border Somalia again and the civil protests. UK because of terrorism attacks and also because we border Somalia. And then the USA has also issued one because of terrorism, two because of violent crime, which again goes back to the political manipulation where the government or the opposition leaders were not sure, but they blame they play a back and forth game, to try and manipulate the what the public. There, so violent crime leading us back to political manipulation about the government hiring goons or the opposition leaders hiring the goons. We may never know who hired them. So all these are security unrests that causes other countries to not to want to come to Kenya. But then again, I think all of these things that I have mentioned here are global problems. I specifically did my study around the United States of America because they were so quick to issue a traveling advisory to Kenya because of the protest that they brought to us, because we do not want their sick patients. Stay with their own people because everyone has their own home. I could not get sick today and tell myself I'm going to go to quarantine to, if I had Ebola today and I'm Kenyan, I will not wake up one morning and say I'm going to the United States of America to quarantine there. That is unheard of and that is not okay, according to me and according to many citizens of Kenya. Take your sick people and place them where you want to place them. Just don't bring your sick people to Kenya. We do not want your sickness here. So, security unrest in the United States of America. Civil unrest due to racial injustices and civil liberties. Civil unrest, we have said, are mass protests because there's been so much mass protest we have seen it with the George Floyd dying due to racial injustices, died in the hands of a white police officer. Yeah, and so that is a racial injustice. So there's always been, I think there's always been racism in the United States of America because even when you log in onto TikTok, people are always complaining about how especially people of my color, the African American people, complaining about racism against them, and also like Asians, people of color, the I think the Chinese, the Indians, Asia as a whole is a continent of people of color. So they have said that they have been called slurs by the white people. So this has caused many civil unrest as people are out trying to, in peaceful demonstrations, trying to curb that very major inconvenience because people are people. You should not be judging a person based on their color of the skin. At the end of the day, we all bleed red. And if you don't, you're probably an alien. There's also been civil unrest, aka mass protest, because of civil liberties. Civil liberties mean a fundamental fundamental individual rights and freedoms protected by law that safeguard you from unwarranted government interference or overreach. So this simply says that it's a right for you to live your life without the government having to intervene in your life, without having to control it. That is what civil liberty is. And they include freedom of expression, like the one I'm expressing, like the one I'm showcasing right now. I'm showing my freedom of speech, of expression. There's also freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, which means a right to mass, a right to what? A right to mass peaceful protests when you don't agree with your government or how it is carrying out its endeavors. So yeah, there's freedom of expression, freedom of religion. If I choose to be a Christian today, well and good. If I choose I want to be an Islam, well and good. If I feel like I want to practice Buddhism, I should not be criticized because of that. Again, if yeah, there's also freedom of assembly and privacy rights. So there's been civil unrest because the American government chooses to not respect the privacy, chooses uh, to not to not listen to the people who are expressing themselves. So yeah, there's been uh, not political. There's been civil unrest and and people dying in protests because of that, because of a lack of civil liberties being followed through by the government. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm stammering a lot. I'm really nervous because, again, this is my first episode. And I'm trying to make you guys understand why these other countries that may seem as perfect are not perfect at all. So there's that, civil liberties, civil unrest. Uh, there's also, terrorism attacks that have happened in the United States, and you will not find a Kenyan trying to judge. You will not find an African country trying to judge or criticize the U.S. government because of that. Because again, we never know when these things happen; they just happen, and no one should be like crucified because you border a specific country that you think terrorists come out of. Um, Another reason why USA is not the safest country in the world is the availability of firearms to any and every person, including a 14 to 15-year-old boy has a firearm. That alone makes America the unsafest because any and every person can own a gun, can own a firearm. That point alone makes the United States of America, the most unsafe place to ever be in. Because if you're not going to regulate firearms, what do you expect? I've been in Kenya for a whole 22 years of my life, and I've never heard of a mass shooting done by a Kenyan or done by a boy who thought he was depressed. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But a boy, a schoolboy, should not be able to attain a firearm. Again, mm, that also leads to high firearms and its availability to everyone leads to violent crimes against the citizens of against the citizens of of the United States of America. Also leads to violent crimes to also non-citizens of the United States of America who have gone there, for maybe a visit or a vacation. but you don't see a lot of people talking about this. You're not perfect, so Kenya should not be judged. If anything, all the problems I've said in Kenya, apart from the geopolitical and public health protests, everything else I've said about the Kenya's security unrest is there in the United States of America. And I think all of these are crisis, all of these are problems that countries all over the world are facing, because there will always be a violent person in every country who is out to get violent crime, who is out to, get violent crimes. Um, there's also been, political riots against the current reigning government of the United States of America, which has led to onward mass protests in the country. The Democrats of the United States have also named the high cost of living in the country a Trump Republican cost of living crisis, because of how much there is, high cost of living issues, just like in Kenya. So that is also a security, breach, a security unrest from your people who are all over the road trying to get you to listen to them. Again, I think politics are the biggest betrayals to the people, because especially here in Kenya, because how does a whole government sit down and decide to bring a whole disease into the country? That's so sad, and we're supposed to love ourselves, and I will keep on preaching that. So, yeah, all of this, there are so many other reasons, that I think we should bring forth in regards to, like, our country and its safety. But that is all I had time for today. We should try to emulate, I think China is the greatest country in the world. We should try to emulate China as a country, because I've seen so many people in on TikTok saying, China is living in the future. China is the best country to ever be in. And I think China is not living in the future. China is living in the now. China is living in the times the whole world is supposed to be living. And that is what China should be a great example of what happens when your government chooses to be corruption free. It should be, it should be a great example to like, it puts all it shows its people all the money, the taxes and their money goes to, it shows its people that all the money and the taxes goes to, scientific developments, technological developments around the country. It's a leading, I think China is a great country to be in. So if all these other countries strictly pointing at Kenya for not being secure and all followed the if they followed the procedure that China follows, we will be far as a whole, as a globe. So all these countries issuing these traveling advisories to its citizens need to calm down. Calm down. It's never that okay. It is that serious. It is that serious because, again, prevention is better than cure. But don't point at me when you're literally having the same problems as a country. All these countries that I've said, Australia, UK, Canada, and the United States, they all have crimes. Like the other day, we saw UK, black women disappearing and being found murdered and being found unalived. That is not okay. And you have not seen other countries being so quick. Don't go to the United Kingdom if you are a black woman. You know, you have not seen other countries. So I address that first. Address the fact that your country is unsafe for women, for black women. Uh, that Address that fact before you come and see the little dust in my eye. See the log in your eye first. Um, and as for urban crime, I think urban crime is a global crisis. Everywhere you go, the United States, with its the way it ensures everyone has a gun, will ultimately lead to violent crimes and urban crimes. Because again, if a homeless person is has a firearm, I don't think he will look at the firearm and be encouraged to sleep hungry. He will walk into a store, pull out the firearm, and take whatever he needs. And then, worst comes to worst, if even the owner of the outlet has a firearm, so there's going to be a shootout. Even people who are not involved will end up being injured or unalived. So that is self that make that point only makes the United States one of the most unsafest place to be in. Um, Again, when it comes to Ebola, guys, Kenyans, I don't think we should be accepting anything that is not that place being burnt down to ashes, or that place being, we should not accept anything less than the government of Kenya telling us that that place is not being built, that facility is done with, because that Ebola will bring a lot of unrest to us as a country. There's going to be um, a hike in all the prices. We are already experiencing high costs of living. So when you bring a whole disease in a country and everyone starts to get sick, no one is going to be coming out to like sell or buy. So that makes financial the financial oh my god, that makes the financial place of the that alone makes everything. What am I saying, guys? I am so sorry. I'm sleepy. It's late and I have to learn English apparently. So yeah, if Ebola comes to Kenya, we are already expecting high costs of living. We are expecting a lot of decline in the tourism sector of Kenya. We are also expecting a lot of civil unrest, mass protests everywhere for these white people not to come anywhere near our country. Um, yeah, we're expecting a lot of disadvantages more than advantages. Of course, the advantages will go to the people who have money, but what about the common mwananchi? We need to discuss this, and we need to discuss it now. Let's not keep quiet. If you have a public, platform that you can be able to address this, kindly address it, and let's stop the building of the facility of Ebola patients who are not, can you imagine that facility cannot even care for anyone in Kenya? It is only for the United States of American citizens in our country. We need to up our games as Kenyans. We need you know, to be able to know when we need to love ourselves, because being being sent a disease that has never been seen in Kenya coming into Kenya simply because a government thinks they're superior. A government on the other side of the world thinks they're superior to us. It's so disheartening and so not okay. So let's love ourselves. That facility should not be close to Kenya. Yeah, I think that's all for today. Kindly write down in the comments what other topics you would like for us to discuss. There are so many topics. I think my next topic will be about the UN regressing the rights of women. I think that is going to be the next topic. Also, guys, please tell me what you would like for me to talk about. Because again, I'm trying so hard to up my game in terms of communication. I want to be able to speak publicly, in public spaces where everyone around me will be able to hear what I'm saying clearly and not be shy about anything. Uh, and I also hope that this channel is educating you on, especially today's video. The whole point of the video is to like help us as Kenyans or Africans especially to not feel inferior to any other government simply because they think they have the finances. If anything, I think Africa provides so much resources to the other parts of the world, and it's because of our political leaders who are full of corruption and just love money hungry, that we are not seeing the expected um, changes that we are supposed to be seeing ever since the dates of our independence, since we attained our independence as a continent. I think Africa is one of the best continents to ever be because we have everything. Again, have good um we have good weather. You've seen so many people when it's winter, they fly from their country, come to Africa because Africa is good. It's known for its weather. So many we also have proper agriculture. In terms of Africans are not lazy when it comes to, doing farm works. Those other countries are lazy. You will find um, a person saying they don't want to get their hands dirty because of the fact that they are white. I don't know. I don't know. I think Africa, we are blessed so much. And the sooner we realize we are more superior than these other countries of the world, the better it will be for us. And also the fact that we should also look at the political leaders that we are putting in our offices, because none of these people are doing anything that is beneficial to our countries or anything that is beneficial to the citizens. The political leaders should not, should not look at themselves only. At least try. Build a road somewhere and say, I built that road. You know, do something. Don't just eat the money, because at this point we're about to, as I think Kenyans, I feel like Kenyans are about to drop drop down dead because of how many things are happening simultaneously. If it's not the finance bill, it's obviously the Ebola facility being built. If it's not that, it is the hike of fuel prices, which if fuel prices hike, everything else is bound to go to a higher cost. So let's take care of ourselves. Let's stay safe. Let's stay educated. That's why I opened this channel, guys. Kindly share, like, subscribe, and comment down below what you would like for us to talk about. So yeah, I think that is the video for today. I would very much like to hear your opinions. Kindly share, and whatever it is that I've left out, share. Or if you think that I've said something wrong, kindly tell me in the comments. And yeah, we might do a part two of this video discussing what you guys think I left out or what you guys think I should have said better. Because again, I'm only trying. I'm only trying. So yeah, guys, I think that's it. Good night. I love you guys. Bye.